Hi everyone, I'm Jess. Welcome to the corner of the internet where I share with you guys the stuff that I've knitted. This is Cupie, by the way. He is my cavoodle, and we named him Cupie because when he was a puppy, he had a little white patch on his chest, and we thought, oh, it's like he spilled mayonnaise on himself, so we were going to call him Cupie. You're probably going to see him walking around doing his own thing. So today I figured I would show you all the sweaters that I've knitted from the very beginning of my knitting journey up until my recently finished object. So as you can see at the moment, I am wearing the Sonrae sweater by Jennifer Steingass, and this was knitted in Bendigo Woollen Mills. You will see a lot of Bendigo Woollen Mills, I feel like, in all of my future knits and past knits, because I feel like their quality of wool is incredible, and it's machine washable, and it's also quite affordable in comparison to a lot of other yarns. So this was in the color Harvest Gold in the main color, and the contrasting color is Magnolia. Yeah, as you can see, I also did the details on the cuffs, and I think I did a fairly good job because it's not particularly tight, it's quite comfortable. And yeah, it's one of my favorite knits, and I wear it a lot. Super comfy. I've kind of knitted it to sort of like a crop length, which is just a little bit underneath my belly button, which I find is the most comfortable length for me. And I love it. So this is the second color work sweater that I've ever made. Yeah, so I actually want to show you all the first sweater I've ever knitted. And here it is. So this is, I believe, the Simple Sweater by Erica Knight. I'll pop down the link below in the description for you. And as you can see, it's made with pretty chunky yarn. I can't remember what size needle I used back in the day, but this was before I had any experience in knitting a garment. And I remember walking into the store. It was in Collingwood. The store is called Yarn & Co. They don't have a physical store anymore, I believe, since COVID. Now they've moved online, so you can look them up online. But I walked in there, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful store. And there was a really lovely lady who was at the store. Her name was Elizabeth, and I recognized her, and it turns out we both went to uni together. We went to fashion school together, and I was like, oh my gosh, you were in one of my classes. And she's like, oh yeah, I think I remember you. And she was really lovely, and I told her I've never knitted a sweater before, and she helped me basically pick a pattern and introduced me to Ravelry. Back in the day, I didn't even know what Ravelry was. So she introduced me to Ravelry, and she helped me pick a pattern for a beginner. And so she also helped me pick the yarn and the amount of balls that I was going to need for this particular sweater. And it took me, I believe, a week to knit this sweater. It didn't take a long time, but I was very determined that I was going to finish it and wear it. I'll show you some pictures of me wearing the sweater. I've only washed it once and blocked it, and that was before I understood gauge or blocking or anything like that. So I didn't knit a swatch. I just knitted the whole sweater, and it fit fine. And then after washing and blocking, it kind of stretched out a little bit, and the neckline's a bit wider than what I want it to be, but I still love it. I'm not gonna give it away or anything. I am keeping this one. You know, I think with any first sweater that you've ever knitted, they've always got like a bit of a sentimental spot in your heart. I don't know about you, but I like to keep this one. even though it's not my finest work. The second sweater I've knitted, so this was a free pattern, I believe it was from Love Crafts, from Paintbox Yarns. So they had a free pattern, and I knitted this with Abbey Road yarn from Spotlight, and I believe I used maybe 6 balls of it. It cost me overall like maybe 60 Australian dollars overall. It wasn't too much, but I would have to say that it took me a really long time to actually finish this sweater. And I don't know why. I think because there's probably a lot of like stockinette stitch, and at one point I just got over it after knitting one sleeve, and then I kind of gave up. Sorry about that. If you can hear that, this is the neighbor's dog. Really having a riot out there. And this was knitted in 4 pieces. So this was also before I knew there was such a thing as circular knitting, because that changed my life. I didn't know that was a thing. So you knit the front and then the back, and it's bottom up, so I couldn't really adjust the length, and I would say that if I were ever to knit another raglan, I would probably make it shorter, because this goes all the way down and covers like up to, you can see the difference between the one that I'm wearing now and this one. It is so much longer by like a whole, I don't know, that's like, is that like more than 10 inches? I'm not sure. And the sleeves are also super long, because I didn't get to measure as I go, as you would with knitting in the round top down. But I didn't know any better, so it took me ages, but I did finish it eventually. It's not perfect, as you can see. Sort of knitting the seams was a little bit wobbly, but you know what? It was my second ever sweater. I don't think I did a bad job. And I still wear it every now and again, so that is my second sweater ever. Can never really go wrong with a raglan, I guess. And I guess the whole train of thought I had at the time was I started with really big needles and a chunky yarn so that I wouldn't feel demotivated by how difficult it was to actually knit a sweater. And my second one, I wanted to challenge myself and level up by using smaller needles. So I think the second one was using, I want to say like about 7mm needles, and the first one was using around 12 to 10mm needles, I believe. So that was my way of leveling up, still using a very simple pattern. There's no cables or intricate patterns on the actual sweater or anything, and I didn't want to get demotivated, I guess, by trying something too difficult that I couldn't actually finish, and not ever knit a sweater ever again. So that was my second sweater. The third sweater I've knitted is this one, and I would say that this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to knit to date. Like, I would even say that this is harder to knit than color work, because as you can see, like with color work sweaters, you do the fancy pattern from the yoke, but then again, it's also just stockinette. You're technically just swapping colors as you go. But this had different stitches that you had to do. I think it's like I want to say it's like a 12-row repeat. So you would do like one 12-row repeat of the diamond, and then you'll repeat it again all the way up. This was a pattern, oh, I should have mentioned this first. This is a pattern from Woollen Mills, so I ordered a kit from them. And the yarn is cotton, so it's called, I believe, Happy Shiny Cotton in the color Bazaar Orange. I'd have to be honest, I thought when I saw the color online that it was going to look more like sort of that terracotta rust color, which, you know, is a whole vibe, I feel like, this year, of like that trend of that rusty, deep orange color. But when I actually got the yarn, it's actually just orange. Kind of reminds me of like Velma from Scooby-Doo orange and sort of Halloween. So if I'm being honest, I actually don't wear this sweater a lot, which is a shame because I did put a lot of work into it. And I guess it's also because when I bought it, I didn't really realize that with, you know, cotton yarn and a pattern where there's like, you know, a lot of holes in it, it's kind of pretty airy. It's kind of more of like a spring summer knit. And where I live in Melbourne, it's kind of cold a lot most of the year, so it's not something that's weather appropriate most of the time here in Melbourne. So it's a bit of a shame. I don't know if maybe I'm thinking of dyeing it a different color so that I would wear it more. Not really sure. I don't hate the orange, but it's also just not my favorite. Yeah, like I remember struggling actually with the pattern, and I think I wasn't reading it properly, and I had to go on Instagram, found this lovely lady who also knitted the same pattern sweater, and I actually messaged her to ask for her help because I just could not compute the pattern. But after a while, I finally got it. But even then, I wouldn't say that this is like a TV knitting type of knit. I would say that it's, you would have to be quite engaged throughout the whole thing, because it goes from, it's a bottom-up sweater and you knit it in 4 pieces, front, back, and on the sides, and you seam it, obviously. And I think I've done so much of a better job, considering this is my 3rd sweater, with the seaming. It's a lot tidier, I would say. Pop a photo of me wearing this actual sweater. Special thing about this one is the collar. So you actually knit like the collar quite long up to there, like double the size that you actually see here. And then, oh, sorry there, just had to sneeze. Probably gonna cut that out. Yeah, so you knit it quite big up to there, twice the size that you see now, and then you roll it over, and then you seam it against itself in the inside. So it actually creates this really nice plush and sturdy collar. And I believe this is necessary because when you knit with cotton knits, it's quite drapey and heavy, as you can see, like it's got like quite a drape on it. And so if you don't have like a really sturdy, good neck on it, I don't think it'll look very good. I think like it would just kind of go everywhere and wouldn't keep its shape very well. So I thought that was quite interesting. This is definitely a learning curve for me, and I'd really like to wear this more. So maybe I'll just plan to wear the sweater more in spring, which is coming up soon. Hopefully the weather will allow me to wear this more. But yeah. So that was that. The next sweater I knit was this colorwork sweater, also by Jennifer Steingass. She is at knit.love.wool on Instagram. And honestly, she's probably one of my favorite designers, and I will recommend her patterns to anybody. Like, I think a lot of the times when I read knitting patterns, I would struggle to try and understand it, and I would sometimes have to go on Facebook and go on like the knitting groups. Oh, sorry, I almost sat on Cupie there. Sorry, Cupie. And I would have to like ask people about certain parts of the pattern and try to understand it. I don't think I've ever really had that problem with Jennifer's patterns. They always seem very easy to read, very straightforward, and she would link to parts of it to some Instagram videos that she's made on how to do certain things. Would I recommend knitting this pattern to a beginner? I would say, honestly, yeah. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's difficult. As long as you have patience, you can definitely knit the sweater. So this is the Anaashah sweater. Lord, I do not know how to say that. I'm gonna pop a link down below. I'll put it on the screen. It's Anaashah sweater? Yeah. So the yarn that I've used for this sweater is, so the main color is Bendigo Woollen Mills. Again, because I love their yarn. It's superwash wool. So I've definitely put this in the washing machine before. And I think I've hand washed it once and put it in the washing machine a few other times after. And seemed to maintain its shape quite well. I would say that there's definitely a little bit of pilling on the arms, as you can see there. Honestly, it doesn't really bother me that much so far. And the main color, so it's the luxury 4-ply that I've used for this sweater, and the contrasting color is from Manos del Uruguay in Silk Blend in the colorway Autumn. And I remember when I first got the Manos del Uruguay skein of yarn, it was very, very early on in my knitting journey, and that was way before I knew how to knit garments or anything like that. I was only knitting scarves and hats at the time. And I met this lady who was trying to start her own non-for-profit hand dyeing yarn business, but she also had some stock of Manos del Uruguay. So I actually went to her house. Her name was Joan. I don't think she continued with her yarn business. I think she sold it off. But she showed me this beautiful skein of yarn. I remember it was so colorful, and I'd never seen anything like it. And so I only bought one skein of yarn from her. It was quite expensive, obviously, because Manos del Uruguay usually in Australia costs somewhere between $30 to $40 dollars if you buy it from Morris & Sons. It's usually where I buy my stock of Manos del Uruguay yarn. I bought a skein from her, and I just didn't even know back then that you can't knit from a skein. So that was how limited my knitting knowledge was back then. And I didn't know that you had to roll it into a ball. What actually happened was I hadn't used it for so long. I kept it in my stash for a long time. And little cutie over here, he got a hold of it somehow, and I didn't notice that he had. And he bit into it, and it got all tangled and crazy looking. And so I actually had to untangle it and kind of hand roll it myself. So I salvaged it. I didn't give up on it and throw it away or anything like that. And I'm happy I did, because look at the contrast on that yoke. Isn't that just amazing? This is one of my favorite sweaters. I honestly wear it all the time. And I think I did a very good job. If I could say so myself. This is the inside of it. Let me just turn it inside out so you can see it. It's actually pretty even. Like, the strands are really tidy and very even. Yeah, I'm quite proud of myself. You'd also notice that if you look up Manos del Uruguay Silk Blend yarn, specifically the one that I used here, it would actually say it's 8-ply, which makes it DK. And for the main part of the sweater, I actually used 4-ply, which is a fingering weight yarn. But for whatever reason, I just kind of went with it and just tried the contrast, and it seems to work just fine. Like, I don't see any particular disparities to the yarns. It's not like one seems particularly way thicker than the other or anything like that. So I think, you know, in that experiment it worked perfectly well for me. And even with that one skein, I still had a little bit left over, and I actually made some pom-pom earrings with it, which I'll show you another time because I don't have it with me at the moment. But yeah, I'm really proud of this, and this was my first colorwork sweater, and it really got me really into colorwork and stranded knitting. I was very intimidated at first because I just could not imagine, like, how do you even knit with two different strands all at once at different times. So I had to actually warm myself up to the idea, and this is also the first sweater that I knit in the round. So I actually had to do a lot of trawling on the internet, on YouTube and Instagram, to see how people would knit in the round, just so that I could visualize it. And if I could visualize it and understand the mechanism, then I figured, well, I can give it a go. So I gave it a go, did not regret it. I'm very proud of this make, and I wear it a lot. Oh, and so the next sweater that I tried to make after that one was the Sonrae sweater that I'm wearing now, and I've already spoken about that. But what actually happened when I was trying to make the sweater was, I remember I started from obviously the collar bit and then down to probably about here, and realizing that there was not the right amount of stitches, and I was really frustrated, and I had to like rip it back and do it again like 2-3 more times, I think. And at that point I was really frustrated with myself because I was thinking, oh my god, I'm never gonna get it right. Why is this so hard? And I just wasn't really concentrating, I feel like, when I was casting on, so I didn't really have the right number of stitches. And I kind of gave up and abandoned it for like a few days. And I just really couldn't wrap my head around like just starting again after doing it wrong for like 2-3 times. And honestly, it wasn't the pattern, it was me. I just wasn't really in the right headspace and wasn't concentrating when I'm casting on, which is super important when you're like counting, you know, a few hundred stitches with your cast-ons. You kind of need to pay attention, but I really wasn't at the time. So I abandoned it, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is not the time, because I casted on the sweater right after I'd finished the other Jen Steingass colorwork sweater, and maybe I just needed like a palette cleanser. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put that down and do something that's easier, that has more stockinette stitch. So I actually went for this one instead. So this is again another kit I ordered from Woollen the Gang. I don't think I've really ever taken any pictures with it. Again, this is another, I can just wear it now and show y'all. So it's kind of like a cozy, like really relaxed fit cardigan. The pattern is called Pop Cardigan, and this colorway for the yarn I think is Denim. Gosh, can't remember. I will have to look it up and let y'all know. And it's also made of cotton yarn. Now, again, when I ordered these two Woollen the Gang kits, I really didn't really pay attention to the material of the yarn and that it was cotton, and I just don't feel like cotton knitted garments are appropriate for Melbourne weather. So this is probably one of the knits that I don't wear very often. It's more of like a spring summer knit again, because the yarn itself is probably like a 5 millimeter size yarn, but you use way bigger needles to actually knit the garment. So you can see it's quite sort of gapey, and you know, obviously that wouldn't be very warm if you just wore it out, you know, in a very windy Melbourne. So it's kind of a shame, but I do like the color and the style. I feel like this is something you could just throw on when you're just out going for a nice walk during summer, or you're going to the beach and you want something to cover up, you know, when you're wearing like a tank and shorts. But yeah, I just don't use it very often. But it was a good palette cleanser. I finished it fairly quickly. I want to say maybe like in a week or so, because you use really big needles. You just kind of, you know, go through it pretty fast. The way it was constructed, I thought was pretty interesting. Again, I looked up a lot of other people that have knitted the same sweater on Instagram to get an idea of how it was knitted. So you knit it, so you knit the body, the torso bit, from the back, and then you knit all the way up to the front, and then you do the same for the other side, and you stitch it through the back. So after you've done that torso bit, it actually looks pretty crazy. It looks like, you know, there is this long bit for the front and then it continues to the back, and you've sewn that together in the middle. It looks like a giant U shape. And then you proceed to knit the sleeves, connect those together, and then at the very end, when everything's connected, the giant U shape, the sleeves, and then you fold it over, and then you would knit the side seams on the underarm and the side of the body, and that's where you're like, oh, it makes sense. It looks like a cardigan now. And then you'd pick up stitches on the back and the front all the way to do the ribbing that's on the front here. So that's a construction I've never done before, but I had sort of an idea as to how it was going to be constructed, because I had seen other people post about it on Instagram and show photos of them laying it out flat on the floor while they're constructing it and seaming it. And also I would say that Wool and the Gang, their patterns are really good, pretty clear, and they would have like diagrams and they show you like pictures and stuff drawn out so you can visualize if you're a visual person like me, and it's super helpful. So did I enjoy knitting this? Yes. Do I wear it a lot? No, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a fun one. Maybe I'll wear it more this summer when it comes, and hopefully we're not still in lockdown by then. I mean, my God, COVID, right? Is it ever gonna end? So next I just wanted to show y'all my whips. I have a few actually. Oh dear. So one of the first whips I want to show you today is oh my gosh, it's escaped my mind. I can't remember the name of this sock. I will remember it and then put it on the screen when I've looked it up. But this is from the 52 Weeks of Socks book that I've bought. And it's in a hand-dyed yarn from Melbourne City Dye Works in the colorway Bunny Hop. I mean, how cute is that? I love that it's got predominantly sort of like this really cute little teal turquoise color with some pink and purple. And I feel like every time I'm knitting this and I get hints of pink, I'm like, ooh, I get all excited about the pink because I do love pink quite a bit. So this sock is quite interesting in the way that it was knitted. You would knit it toe up, as you normally would with the Magic Judy cast on. So you knit it toe up, and then you turn it inside out and you knit through the foot, and then the heel is a German short row heel, and then you knit up the leg. As you can see, it's like combinations of knits and purls. And then once you reach the pattern bit at the top, you turn it inside out again, and that's when you knit the flower section of it, the pattern, and then the ribbing at the top. And this is the right side out, and you can see it's kind of like these beautiful stems of these flowers. And if you really look closely, it looks like it's all pearls and some knits, which would probably deter people from wanting to actually knit this sock because there's so many pearls. But there actually isn't, because it's knitted inside out, back and forth. So I thought that was really interesting. And this is the second sock I've ever really knitted, because the first sock I made, which I don't have with me at the moment, is a pair of vanilla socks pattern from the Crazy Sock Ladies tutorial on YouTube, and I gave that to my husband. I'll show it sometime. Oh, maybe I'll just show a picture up here of the sock that I made for my husband. And I bought that sock yarn for the first time from Maker store in Northcote. And the yarn is from Prosper hand-dyed yarn. I believe they're hand-dyed in New Zealand, and the colorway was Ask Questions Later, which I thought was quite hilarious, because I remember seeing that yarn and thinking, I don't actually know how to knit a sock. I've never done it before, but I wanted to try something different and challenge myself. But I tend to ruminate a lot about things that I've never done, and I want to figure out like the process all the way through and visualize it in my mind before I've actually done it. So it kind of prevents me from trying and doing different things if I've never done it before. But then I saw the colorway name and I was just kind of like, yeah, that's probably what I should do. Just ask questions later, just purchase the yarn, get the needles, and figure it out later. I'm sure there's something on YouTube that could show you how it's done. And the ladies at the store were really supportive and helpful. I remember I came into the store wearing one of my colorwork sweaters. I don't know if it was this one or the other one. And they were like, did you knit that? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, if you can knit a sweater, you're gonna be fine. You can knit a sock. And if you don't know how to do certain things, just Google the code, you know, the yarn instruction, and you'll be fine. And they were so lovely and friendly. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give this a go. So, second pair of socks I've ever knitted. I still don't remember the name. I'm on to the next pair, and I've just not made very much progress. It's kind of, I guess I'm almost finished. Oh yeah, I'm really close to finishing the leg bit, but not quite. I still have like about that much left before the heel. But it's kind of in the back burner at the moment because I'm doing a test knit, and that actually has a deadline. So I haven't really touched this, but I will. I'm determined to finish it. The next whip I wanted to show you is, you guys, I'm so freaking excited. It's the Ranunculus. I mean, come on. who doesn't love a good ranunculus? So, oh my gosh, it's so scrunchy, and I'm so excited about the colors. It's freaking just, it just makes me feel like I'm alive. Like, this is the color I would wear when I'm like feeling alive. So I got this yarn from Morris & Sons in Melbourne CBD. That was during a time where we weren't in lockdown. You could actually go in stores, touch yarn, feel inspired, and buy what you feel inspires you the most. Unfortunately, can't do that at the moment, but it's fine. We'll get there eventually, right? So again, this is Manos del Uruguay. I don't know if you can really see the colors, but it's got a lot of like this sort of neon pink and like light blue and orange and purple. It's honestly like the most exciting yarn I've ever seen my whole life. I remember seeing it and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna make with that. Oh my God, but I want it so bad. And this was in, so the name of the yarn is Marina lace. See, it's super thin. And the colorway is Holi, like Holi. Held together with Rowan Kid Silk. I don't remember the colorway for this, but I thought the colors really went together quite well. And it creates this really beautiful fabric. It's got like all these tones of like purple and hints of like blue and orange. And it's like this fuzzy, and it's so light, it like weighs nothing, which is incredible. And I wanted to make the ranunculus because I saw, I think it was Selma Knits on YouTube and also on Instagram. She made like 3 or 4 or something, and she's doing a cow at the moment, so if you want to be part of that, it's hashtag ranunculus love cow. And if I were looking at just the pictures of the ranunculus, I don't feel like that's the type of vibe or style of sweater that I would gravitate towards, but I feel like a lot of people on Instagram have knitted it, and then Selma knitted it, and I saw her wear hers, and I'm like, that looks really nice. Like, I want a pair. And the fact that everyone is raving about it, and now I kind of get it. No, I definitely get it. The magic of the ranunculus is that it's using a pretty thin yarn, but the needles that you use are a 6mm, which is pretty chunky needles, so it knits up really quickly. Like, it took me probably like a week or so to get to the body, and then the sleeves took me a day. Yeah, it knits up really quickly, and this whole thing only took me like, still, this is like 1 skein of the Marina Manos del Uruguay, and I still have this much, and I haven't even knit the other sleeve, so I'm pretty sure that I'll have enough. I did use about maybe 3 balls of the Rowan Kid Silk Haze. This is my 2nd ball, and I still have, no wait, no, this is my last ball, except it's just kind of gone all wonky and crazy. So this is my 3rd ball, but I'm pretty sure that's enough to knit up the other sleeve. And again, the reason why I haven't finished this is because I'm working on a test knit, which has a deadline. So I really do want to finish this because I want to wear it. I actually really want to wear it. Obviously to nowhere, because there's nowhere to go because we're in lockdown, but it's fine. I'll wear it indoors on a weekend while I'm watching TV. But yeah, I'm super excited about that one. So, all right, the test knit I've been talking about a lot. I'll show you. It's not a secret test knit, so I can just show you. So this test knit is from ANJALI. So ANJALI had a test knit call out on Instagram, and I've never done a test knit before, but I've done colorwork sweaters, and it's like one of those things on my bucket list where I kind of feel like, you know, it's what serious knitters do. You do test knits. So I watch a lot of YouTube vloggers talk about test knits. I know particularly Our Knits and Pearls. I love her podcast, and I follow her on Instagram. She's always doing test knits, and I just find it incredible that she can knit so fast and knits like a sweater, I feel like, every month. And I'm like, oh my God, like what kind of skills do you need to be able to actually finish a sweater in a month? Like, that blows my mind. So I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna finish a sweater with a deadline, which I've never done before. So this is the Indira pullover that I'm knitting at the moment. Yeah, so it's got sort of a split hem at the bottom, which is something I've never done before. It's a little bit longer in the back and shorter at the front. It's got this really nice color work pattern here, and you can see it's got like these baubles. They're crochet baubles. I've never done baubles before, so that was learning for me. It takes a long time, but they do add a really nice feature to your sweater. I'm up to the sleeves. Sleeve island just taking freaking forever. And I kind of hate that I'm doing magic loop on sleeves because I don't have size 3.5 millimeter D-pans. I prefer using D-pans when it comes to knitting sleeves because the magic loop method for sleeves just kind of creates a bit of laddering for me, and I think it's because of the knitting needles that I use. Like the cord has like memory, like it's not super flexible, so it kind of causes like a bit of laddering, which I don't love. But it's what I have. I'm knitting on a deadline, gotta work with what I got. The pattern will be released on 11th of September. So as I'm speaking today, today's like, what is it, like 26th of August. So my deadline is 10th of September. So really I have like 14 days to finish the sleeves. So help me God. I'm sure I'll finish it, it'll be fine. Just haven't made very much progress, as you can see from that lifeline. That's like how much I've knitted on the sleeves. We'll get there, it's fine. So this is knitted in fingering weight yarn. Again, Bendigo Woollen Mills, because I love their stuff. The color, I actually don't remember what the purple color is. I think it's called lilac or something. And the little contrasting color, if you can remember, was from the leftover that I had from my Jen Steingass sweater for the main color, which is a soft blush in the luxury 4-ply. So that's what I've used. I've just used leftover stuff from my stash, and I figured I don't really have like purple anything really, and I wanted to knit a purple sweater. So here goes. Yeah. So that's everything really. I think I've shared a lot of stuff for May 1st episode of my knitting podcast, so I hope that wasn't too long. And hopefully I will see y'all in, I don't know, maybe a week, maybe 4. I want to say I want to post every 2 or 4 weeks, but depending on whether or not I have the finished object by then. I'd like to think that I would have a finished object by then. But thank you for spending the time with me to talk about my knits. I hope you enjoyed. I would love to hear your suggestions, so please write them down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. I am at Jess blog.knits.sews. I will link down below to my Insta as well. And yeah, I'll see you in a few weeks. I hope you have a great day or evening. Bye.